layout, and there's been
one from MDOT Aeronautics, who most all know, Alyssa, who will be approving this loan, and she said there was nothing that she saw, and she was hoping to take care of that today when she got back to
Oh,
work.
good.
All right, further questions?
No.
So the recommendation is to approve the resolution which authorizes a request of a $100,000 loan from MDOT Aeronautics to provide the necessary resources to complete construction of the Brooks Field Terminal building.
So moved.
Support. I have a motion and support. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Gates?
Yes.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Member Traver?
Yes.
Member Underhill?
Yes.
Mayor Karen?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next on the agenda, we have item 13E, the term sheets with the Marshall Energy Center. I'm going to ask Ed to come up and go over that with us, please.
Mr. Mayor, council members, as was just discussed by Mr. Bartlett about the projected load growth, I've taken into account what's happening at MPM and Cresco and Green Eden and Delta One, and put together a load forecast that goes out for the next 5 years, and it's a significant electric load growth for the city. Currently, our peak load runs around 23 to 25 megawatts, and we're projecting it to hit 170 to 120 in 4 years. And all these growth facilities are counting on us having the energy available for them when they need it. Coincidentally, and also we're required by the state of Michigan and the statutes that we have to, this is a new law that was passed, I think, Tom, in 2016, that we have to be able to demonstrate that we have the capacity to provide our projected loads. And that's just being filed by the end of February, I believe. It's got to be filed to the state, and that's being done. So, and also the Mid-Continent system operator in Indianapolis also likes, as indicated along with the state statute, that the generation has got to be in what they call Zone 7, which is the lower peninsula of the state of Michigan. Currently, all our generation basically comes from Ohio, and a little bit in Wisconsin on some dams up there. And with this kind of load growth, and I can get really technical here, but it's gonna it would cause a lot of problems to start getting more energy out of Ohio, and because there's limited transmission availability to the peninsula, the lower peninsula of Michigan, get that energy through the lines here. That's what's called congestion on those lines. So that's one of the reasons the state said we better be self-supplying of electric energy. And compounding this issue is there's a lot of coal plants that are being decommissioned in Michigan right now by both Detroit Edison, Lansing Board of Water and Light, Municipal Electric Grand Haven, Municipal Electric, again, Lansing Board of Water and Light, and Consumers. And I think, last I heard, Palisades, a nuclear plant on the West Shore, is scheduled to be decommissioned in 2022 or 2023. So what's happening in Marshall is there's a facility that's being constructed, or planned to be constructed, start this spring. It's called the Michigan Energy Center North, and they're going to build a 500 megawatt combined cycle generating plant in our industrial park. They need subscribers. We need the energy. We need the capacity. So it's a good, it's not really a partnership, but it's a good, something that's very valuable to us to be able to ensure our future energy needs, our capacity needs, to be able to sign a term sheet. It won't go into effect with them until we actually bring a power purchase agreement to the council so much later. But this kind of gets them situated where they can get their financing such that they can say, hey, we've got this much dedicated load that is very interested in the plan. And so they've offered us a term sheet for 50 megawatts, which won't get us to where we need to be, but we'll see what happens on this thing. 50 megawatts is conservative of both capacity and energy, commencing in late 2023. And I did the economics of it, and it's less right now. The pricing on that is less than what we're paying on the commodity market for energy, wherever it comes from, out of Ohio or someplace else. So I believe it's a pretty good, got a good price on it. It solves our energy needs, our capacity needs, also supports the plant with 400 jobs for 3 years during the construction phase and 40 jobs after that for the operational life of the plant. So I think it's a win-win situation for both the plant and the city of Marshall. So I'm recommending that the council approve the term sheet with MCM North, and it's a 30-year term sheet, just so clear on that. And the power purchase agreement will be mirrored after that term sheet, but it's a lot larger document than this. It's just kind of a preliminary document.
So, if I can ask, so what does this commit us to purchasing power from them?
It does.
Okay, so we'd be committed to it, but would the price be determined later on? It sounds like there's a second portion that's the price.
The price is fixed as they presented it right now. We wouldn't just sign we're going to purchase power and not know what it's going to cost us.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. So it's locked in. So are the increases over that 30 years
There's a
fixed?
2.5% escalator per year, yes. I did 10-year increments out there doing analysis, and even at the end of 40 years, it's the cost of the energy and the capacity is about what we're paying right now.
Okay.
These plants could be very efficient and get into heat rates and things like that, but be one of the most efficient plants that in the Midwest. So it's going to be called to run regularly.
Do you feel that plant is the best priced commodity for us? Have we checked others? Have we checked other?
The only other thing that we could do right now, because there aren't any other plant, Detroit Edison had a plant, and it's really, I don't even think they've got it in the queue yet with MISO, like I mentioned earlier, Mid-Continent System Operator. And it takes 2 or 3 years just to do that. So that plant, their plant is probably maybe 5 to 7 years out. And there's no other plant in the lower peninsula of Michigan that's scheduled to be built. Lansing's building one for them themselves. Holland's built a plant for them themselves. Grand Haven was going to build one for them, another municipal electric for themselves, but they run into gas shortage, over the pipeline shortage, getting gas to the plant. So, but there's no other, I don't know if any other, there is one being built down by Niles right now, very similar to this one. But I think that dispatches into another
PJM.
PJM, which is an East Coast transmission system.
Are those others being built all natural gas as well?
That one is, yes. Okay. That's the thing right now. If it's natural gas, nuclear is, just not too available right now.
Right.
And coal is definitely not being built. And we need the energy and we need the capacity.
Can we increase from the 50 going forward also?
We'll see how much is left, because their next step is to build another 500 megawatt plant down there, if this one works out well for them.
Okay.
So you're confident those are the best prices we can
Yes,
get?
I am. Very positive.
And you're saying
We could probably get something to the market, but remember the market, you're dealing with commodities.
Right.
It goes up and it goes down, and when it goes up, sometimes it can. Right now, I forecast this to be about $23 a megawatt hour. We've seen it even last summer up to $600 and $700 a megawatt hour, and it really can get expensive. And you don't have any choice. I mean, unless you want to turn the lights out, we don't want to do that.
All right. Any further questions regarding the term sheet with MEC? All right, thank you, Ed.
Sure.
So the recommendation tonight is to execute the 30-year term sheet for the 50 megawatts of capacity from MEC North LLC, a Delaware LLC, with its principal offices located at 123 Mason Street in Greenwich, Connecticut, commencing in 2023, and have the city clerk sign the term sheet.
So move.
Support. Have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I guess we should just have Ed kind of hang out up here because we've got you for the next couple. Item 13F is the electric line tree trimming program, which is a 3-year agreement.
Sure. Again, Mr. Mayor and council members, when I first came to Marshall about 5.5 years ago, one of the first things I did a tour of the system, of course, and one of the first things I noticed is the tree condition. Trees and electric wires do not mix. So we embarked upon a council-supported a program, 4-year trickle, to keep the wires away from the, or keep the limbs, trees away from the wires. It's been real, so we've really had very few outages during that period of time that the tree caused. You get car pole accidents and other type of interruptions, but we don't have many call-outs anymore for tree-caused interruptions. So it's we were using the All Reliable Services out of St. Augustine, Florida, for the last 5 years. Tom and I spoke, and we decided that it's probably best to rebid it rather than just continue, because we did bring them on with only a 1-year contract, because we didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about them, and brought them on with a 1-year contract, see how they performed. They performed well. Then we went to a 2-year contract, another 2-year contract, and in fact they wouldn't sign another 2 years. So, and Taiwan did it very efficiently and very economically for us. And we've had a discussion with the owner of the company, and he's committed to Marshall, committed to keeping the trees and keeping his employees trained to be able to work around energized conductors, because that's, you just don't put anybody out working near those conductors. And this is, it's really to keep the trees away from it. It's not only is a reliability issue, it's a safety issue, because if anybody's touching a tree and a limb happens to touch a live wire, that ground current's going to go somewhere, and it's going to go into the ground either at the roots, or if somebody's on the tree or touching a tree, or kids climbing a tree, they could be a conductive path to ground also. So it's not only reliability, but it's safety oriented. But top to bottom offered us a good price. It's been this amount has been budgeted. Well, it was really budgeted this year for $206,000, but their bid come in at $193,000 for a combination of a 3-person crew and a 2-person crew to provide us with a 4-year trim cycle. And that's, you need that 4 years in metropolitan areas to keep the trees, to keep the limbs back. If you let them go, they become very large and very difficult to remove, and it's very detrimental to the tree itself when you start taking out big chunks of it. So that's recommend that that we sign contract with Top to Bottom Tree Service. The city clerk signed the bottom of Top to Bottom Tree Service for $193,000, not to exceed $193,600.
Ed, so most of this work happens in the summertime, spring to summer. Is that general, or is it all year round? Okay.
Year round.
And I'm sure in the RFQ, those qualifications that you were speaking of about working around the energized
Yes.
lines were all clear, and this company doesn't meet those regulations.
Exactly.
Okay.
How do you monitor the work that's being done?
Thank you.
And with 120 miles of
Well, we have a part-time retiree that's working with us, name of Bill Day, who was in charge of these, of getting their work out there, contacting the property owners that they're going to be working in front of or on their property, so that they're pre-notified, taking and making arrangements for tree removals if they have to be removed. And he monitors that work on a daily basis. So it's not just turn them loose and go to work.
I know, and that was my thought exactly. We've had some butcher jobs in the past from tree services, and it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yes,
so,
you mentioned that 5 years ago, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But what we also insist upon is some good arboreal techniques when you're trimming the trees, so that you're just not whacking them off. But some of them have been let to grow for so long, like a pine tree underneath the lines, that you see them just kind of cut off so they don't get into the lines.
Questions for Ed on the tree contract? All right, so the recommendation would be to approve retaining top-to-bottom tree service of Marshall, Michigan to perform tree trimming in the amount not to exceed $193,600 a year, and authorize the city clerk to sign the 3-year agreement.
So moved.
Support.
Have a motion and support. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Member Traver?
Yes.
Member Underhill?
Yes.
Mayor Karen? Carried.
Thank you.
Yes, and this is, I presented this, the whole hydro generation to you some months ago. The thought at that time was to replace the bearing and also maybe rewind the turbines. And I decided to look at these separately and see what the payback was on these, because I combined the payback, or I combined the bearing replacement with the rewind process. In the rewind process, $130,000. And our FERC license expires 5, so I was looking maybe, I don't know, it's going to 15 years from now, I don't know. Exactly what the council will want to do with the dam at that point, because it'll be a $500,000 expense just to relicense it to the commission. So it'll be their call at that point. But I thought we ought to be, as long as we have the dam, right now we're spilling a lot of water that could be generating electricity because that number 3 unit is not in service. And so we're just going to replace, our recommendation to the council is to repair the unit number 3 for about $36,168 and get it back into service and running. That doesn't rewind the turbine, of course, or rewind either one of them, the generator on the turbine. Just because it's this is a 2-year payback on this investment. On the spending $115,000 or $130,000 for $5,000 a year, the payback is going to be 40 or 50 years, and it just my mind didn't make sense to do that. Although we'd get a little bit more renewable energy, but not 40 years payback.
Right, and not enough to add a significant amount
Correct.
to our portfolio to make it worthwhile.
Correct.
All right, so I mean, we know we've talked about this in the past, because we have the license for the next 15 years, it does to make this expenditure, and if we can cover it over a two-year payback, we'll continue to generate our own electricity and then make some on the end with our needs going up. I know this won't make a huge difference, but we might as well use what we have to contribute to it. So any questions regarding this with Ed? All right, so the recommendation is to approve awarding of the repair contract to Kaiser Hydro LLC of Norway, Michigan in the amount of $36,168 with a $4,000 contingency for the repair of the city's hydroelectric unit number 3, and have the city clerk sign the contract.
So moved.
Support.
Have a motion and support. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Underhill?
Yes.
Mayor Karen?
Yes.
Member Gates?
Yes.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Member Traver?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That moves us to item 14A under appointments and elections. And these would be appointments to the Southeast Neighborhood Improvement Authority Board. So the recommendation is to approve the following appointments and terms. Ben Holben with a term expiring December 31st, 2020. Lucy Blair with a term expiring December 31st, 2021. Matt Davis with a term expiring December 31st, 2021. Michael Murphy with a term expiring December 31st of 2020. Ryan Underhill with a term expiring December 31st, 2022. And Sean LaFear with a term expiring December 31st, 2023. Tom, if you would just maybe explain for a moment the makeup of the board and how that's...
Sure. There are some requirements in the law of having somebody from the neighborhood, but what we've tried to do here is your Ward 5 council member, which was similar to what we did in Ward 1, having Ryan be appointed for that. Matt Davis represents KCC, and then Lucy Blair actually fills two roles. She lives at the district, and she also represents Calhoun County. That was an appointment that Calhoun County made to the Northeast NIA. Ben Holben, Michael Murphy are neighbors, and Michael's been here quite a few meetings, very interested in this. He's also an attorney. I think having an attorney on board is always good, similar to what we have in the Northeast. And then Sean LaFleur is a representing developer. That could change if this, if for some reason the developer changes, but we felt that it would be good to have the developer of the Allen Downs as represented on this board.
Similarly to how we have the land bank represented on the north.
Correct, as well as Oaklawn Hospital with the land they own up on the Northeast.
Right.
I also have the pleasure of sitting on this board also amongst my other 10 boards, and but it's and then it still leaves room. The board can have between 5 and 9 members. If Mr. Williams starts to develop the property, he could be appointed to this board also because he on Hughes Street. So gives a little flexibility for, you know, another developer.
Sure.
Did any other neighbors express interest?
No, just the ones you see here today.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So the recommendation would be approve the appointments and terms as read. Seek a motion.
So moved.
Support.
A motion and support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have public comment on non-agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak may do so. You have a maximum of 5 minutes, and please state your name and address for the record.
Barry Wayne Adams again, 622 West Green. The information I'm going to be discussing is further amplified in a couple of good books you may want to look at: De Facto Government of the United States and Constitution, Fact or Fiction. Charles Wiseman wrote the De Facto Government of the United States, and Dr. Eugene Schroeder wrote Constitution, Fact or Fiction. So let's start with basics. City of Marshall is a municipal corporation established by Article 7, Section 17 of the Michigan Constitution in 1863. And municipal corporations have been around all of our lives. Do we question their existence? Should they even be part of the American governmental matrix? Have we been warned about this? Well, back in 1907, the United States Supreme Court in Hunter versus Pittsburgh, which is found at 207 U.S. 161, says, and I quote, "Municipal corporations are political subdivisions of the state created as convenient agencies for exercising such of the governmental powers of the state as may be entrusted to them. For the purpose of executing these powers properly and efficiently, they are usually given the powers to acquire, hold, and manage personal and real property. The number, nature, and duration of the powers conferred upon these corporations and the territory over which they shall be exercised rests in the absolute discretion of the state." Where'd the people go? "Neither their charters nor any law conferring governmental powers or vesting them property to be used for governmental purposes or authorizing them to hold or manage such property or exempting them from taxation upon it constitutes a contract with the state within the meaning of the federal Constitution. The state, therefore, at its pleasure may modify or withdraw all such powers, may take without compensation such property, hold it itself or vest it to other agencies, expand or contract the territorial area, unite the whole or part of it with another municipality, repeal the charter, and destroy the corporation. All this may be done conditionally or unconditionally, with or without consent of the citizens, or even against their protest. In all these respects, the state is supreme, and its legislative body, conforming its action to the state constitution, may do as it will, unrestrained by any provision of the Constitution of the United States. Although the inhabitants and property owners may be by such changes suffer inconveniences, and their property may be lessened in value by the burden of increased taxation or for any other reason, they have no right by contract or otherwise in the unaltered or continued existence of the corporation or its powers, and there is nothing in the federal Constitution which protects them from these injurious consequences. The power is in the state, and those who legislate for the state are alone responsible for any unjust or oppressive exercise of it. The municipal corporation is a revivification of the ancient Roman municipium, in which the power of the imperator, which was the power of the military dictator conferred upon Caesar, was passed down to localities, municipia, they were called. This is the same sort of system we have today. We started out with a constitutional system which was supposed to be based on Anglo-Saxon legalistic principles, but now we have a system that is actually a revivification of ancient Rome. Again, all of you taken an oath of office to uphold our constitutional rights. As I just read, a municipal corporation is an engine designed to take away individual rights. I'm bringing this information to you not to blame you for anything, but because you took an oath of office to protect our individual rights, you are obligated and will be liable for any aspect of the exercise of your office that could result in injuries to our individual life, liberty, and property. Please take that into consideration. I'm not doing this to be throwing threats or anything like this. You need to be informed about this stuff. And think about this stuff when you're alone and reflecting in your private moments what your real job is as a public official. Just to rubber stamp corporate activity or to uphold our rights of life, liberty, and property. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments on non-agenda items this evening? All right, hearing none, we will move on to council and manager communications. Member Traver.
Just a big happy birthday to Nick. Thanks for coming to the meeting.
Thank you, Ryan.
Sure.
Member Underhill. Member Metzger. Staff.
The clerk's office is accepting absentee ballot applications. I won't have ballots for probably another 2 weeks, but I'm accepting applications. And it is a presidential primary, so you do have to declare your party preference. It depends. If you declare Democrat, you get a Democratic ballot and vice versa, so no surprises.
How do people obtain an absentee ballot?
Submit an application, call, request one to the clerk's office.
Okay.
You can drop it off, you can put it in the drop box, you can call me, whatever.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, this Saturday, we'll be doing a work session updating our 2019, your 2019 goals and strategy. And I will do my best next year, Nick, to make sure that this council meeting is on your birthday again, so.
All right, anything else?
That's all.
All right, thank you. Member Gates.
I want to remind everybody, we do have one of our great downtown events coming up, the Ice, Wine, Beer, and Blues Festival. It's going to be on January 31st and February 1st. On Friday the 31st, there's beer and wine tastings downtown, beautiful ice sculptures. 10 businesses downtown are participating, so it's a great time to go walk around and enjoy the downtown. And then on the next day, there is the blues concert at the Frank Center, so that's the second part of that event. So please come out, check it out, support your downtown.
Thank you. So yeah, hoping to see everyone out this weekend at Ice, Wine, Beer, and Blues. Also next week we have the annual chamber dinner, and I believe we're almost sold out on that as well. So that's always a nice event. Some awards are given to community members, and we're looking forward to that. So having nothing else, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.